it's amazing. It's just, I never would have imagined the things that we're doing today, the things we're able to do today.
Yeah.
Chief Freeman Carney from Paradise Valley PD and I were actually texting just this morning. We're talking about DFR. I know we're going to talk about that today. But he made the same comment. That's why it just strikes me. He said, you remember, 20 years ago, we never would have imagined these kind of comments.
You remember those old sucker cups on the windshield with a little notepad, and you had to write down the address as fast as you could because those of us in dispatch would try to give it really quickly so that it would screw you over, right?
I was issued a map.
Yeah.
Like, you're like, here's your map.
Books.
Enjoy.
Yeah.
Hey, Dalton.
Hey, Jamie.
Welcome to Scottsdale.
Yeah, thanks. And you welcome to Scottsdale.
I have an apology for the people of Arizona.
Okay.
I don't know if most people understand this, but I talk a lot of interesting things, garbage about Arizona. And really, it's about the heat. It's hot, but it's not hot today. Yep. So, one, I apologize to the great people of Arizona and the marginally weathered state of Arizona.
It was 12 degrees when I left Texas yesterday, which is really weird for Texas. But
yeah,
I couldn't figure out what I wanted to wear on the airplane because I was like, I need a super heavy coat. The second I landed,
and you come out into Phoenix,
this is a horrible idea.
No, that's a good call. I wear a coat regardless. I'm that guy, right? So I come here. It was nice last night. It's like whatever, 55, 60 degrees, and I'm out here in a coat.
This is the best time of the year for us, really. But although next week it's going to hit 90, which I think might set a record for
not coming back, Chief.
The earliest time in the year for that. But anyway.
Not coming back.
Yeah.
I'll be back in November.
Yeah.
Ish.
Yeah.
That's me, man.
As long as there's no conferences being scheduled in August.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. That was, I stayed inside a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's get started.
Please.
I'm going to introduce our guest, our phenomenal guest today, Chief Slavin. That's you.
Yeah,
that would be you.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah. You want to introduce yourself so everybody knows who you are? I mean, we know who you are, but...
Sure. My name is Rich Slavin. I'm Assistant Chief over Uniform Services here in Scottsdale PD. I've been employed here for more than 25 years. My background has largely been in tactical operations. I spent the vast majority of my career on the SWAT team in all different various roles, special investigations. Was a McKellips District Commander for a while. I've been the Uniform Services Bureau Chief now for since 2018, or 2020. I've been an Assistant Chief since 2018. So it's a great place to be, other than the heat. I know you're talking about the heat, but this is an amazing place to work in law enforcement. Arizona is incredibly supportive to law enforcement, and Scottsdale is incredibly supportive of our department. So we're able to do a lot of great things here in the interest of public safety. We really, as I'm sure we'll talk about here shortly, but we really embrace technology and really creating those workforce multipliers through the use of technology. So
did you? Now, I know you started your career here.
I did.
But did you start your life here?
No, I actually grew up in Madison, Wisconsin.
There you go.
In the cold.
I
am still a
I didn't
Packers
want to be that
fan.
guy. I was like, you don't really sound Scottsdale.
Nope, grew up there.
Were you forced to move here?
So I joined the military after high school.
There it is.
And then met my ex-wife in California, actually, while I was stationed there.
Sorry.
She was from Phoenix.
Yeah.
And so that's how we ended up settling here. But I've been here since 1994. Yeah. So
very nice. So if we go back 25 years when you started, right? So
oh, wow.
Yeah, I know. And
it sounds scary to say,
Dalton was he's back there with us.
No, I wasn't born yet.
Sure you weren't. Think about the technology you had in a squad car in 2000, 2001, right?
Right.
For the folks that listen to this, a lot of them actually don't know what that was back then. So walk us through that squad car.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what was the squad car? Was it one of those big those big
Crown
Shamu?
Victoria?
Yeah.
I think every cop that has some tenure on is going to remember them patrolling in a Crown Victoria.
The greatest police car ever made.
It was a great police car.
The fastest, though, the 94 Chevy Caprice. It was a boat.
Yeah. I had one of those, too.
Good God.
Yeah. We did have some Caprices here as well. But yeah, as far as technology in the car, we had a radio, and we had a device called the KDT, which was an annoying buzzer that would buzz at you, and it was basically kind of the first version of mobile dispatch. You know, where you're actually
monochromatic,
getting notes
right?
It was monochromatic, exactly right.
Yeah.
And then that was it. You know, you policed that way. You had tasers were when tasers first came out. Much like many other departments, we had a single taser per squad.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you needed the taser, you called the officer that was assigned the taser.
Yeah.
We even had a radio code for it. Chris remembers. It was a 905 Tom. Hey, I need a 905 Tom over here. Can you imagine?
19 people showed up.
Yeah, exactly.
Just jumping out with their taser
Exactly.
in hand.
So as a patrol officer, I actually was on the call where the very first taser deployment ever occurred. And I remember Brent Patterson, one of my partners, deployed the taser on a stabbing suspect. And when the barbs hit him and he went down, we actually paused for a moment like, hey, that's pretty cool. Oh, we got to go do something about this now. But anyway, so technology then, you're so right. I mean, technology then was, when I think about where we are today, it's amazing. It's just, I never would have imagined the things that we're doing today, the things we're able to do today.
Yeah.
Chief Freeman Carney from Paradise Valley PD and I were actually texting just this morning. We're talking about DFR. I know we're going to talk about that today. But he made the same comment. That's why it just strikes me. He said, you remember, 20 years ago, we never would have imagined these kind of conversations.
You remember those old sucker cups on the windshield with a little notepad, and you had to write down the address as fast as you could because those of us in dispatch would try to give it really quickly so that it would screw you over, right?
I was issued a map.
Yeah.
Like, here's your map.
Map books.
Enjoy.
Yeah.
Yeah, know this.
And then
Kids nowadays are like,
when I was in
"You have a
SAU
map?"
and driving an undercover vehicle in SAU, I can't tell you how many high risk, stops or street jumps we made with nothing but a Dash King. You know, you threw the Dash King up in the dashboard, and that's all you had. So.
Did you have the light where you had to like reach out?
Not
and
the
snap
Kodak light. No, mine was just you just threw it in the dashboard.
Oh man,
That was it.
So I love establishing that foundation because society has just gone crazy with technology improvements and helpful to just general life. But in policing, the tech is kind of insane how fast it just started coming, right?
Absolutely. And tech companies that I think maybe started their life in different arenas that are now dedicating themselves just to public safety and being a part of the mission alongside us now, which I think is it's causing that development to just accelerate even further.
I like telling people competition is necessary in order to continue good quality improvements, good quality innovation, right?
Sure.
And while, competitively, we don't like any other companies, right? In reality, they all are focused on the same mission, right?
Truly.
They're all focused on let's help law enforcement, let's help public safety, let's do that. And so those developments are interesting. It's some interesting things that come along.
For sure. It's been fun. This part of the career has certainly been exciting and fun to see just how effective it is and really providing true public safety. We have a saying around here that and we'll talk about today, I'm sure, but boy, we want to make it really, really difficult to commit a crime in our city and get away with it. That's right. Kind of our philosophy, and the use of the technology systems that we brought on board from this company and others have really done that. And we're always trying to find ways to make that integration stronger, make that data flow smoother, and make us more efficient.
Yeah. So before we get into the actual technology that you're using and stuff, like you said something that kind of jumped out to me. You don't want people to come in here. You want them to know about the capabilities of technology that you've got. How do you balance that with, people thinking that you may be overstepping or something like that? Like, what's y'all's strategy there with that?
Yeah, for one thing, we're just very, very forward about it, very transparent about it. When we launched DFR here, we actually held a press conference about it. We're very, very concerned, making sure that our community understands that we're employing this kind of technology only for a stronger blanket of safety over the community and not to invade their privacy. And so we set strong policy around how we operate, how we use the technology, and then making it all available. You want to know what we're doing? Come see or ask for our records on it. We're happy to share. We're happy to show you what we're doing every single day with the technology. We stand behind our policy and our philosophy of using it appropriately, using it responsibly, but not invading the privacy of our great citizens here.
When you, so I look at Scottsdale, I look at Beverly Hills, I look at destination cities, and as a visitor to a destination city, I want that.
Yeah.
Right? I want to drive down the road, and by drive I mean in an Uber or a Waymo out here, down the road, and I want to see cameras. I want to see LPR, right? I want to know, okay, these guys care if I have a good time here, if I do this. Do the residents of destination cities feel the same way, right? Do they, and you guys have the pulse of the community here, do they feel, hey, this is making us safer, and we appreciate this? The transparency helps, obviously. But what do you think?
I really believe they do. We feel incredible support from the people that live here year-round, and they greatly support our efforts in the use of technology in the way of safety. But I think it's only because we've been so forward in communicating about what we're using and how we're using it. There's no secrets here. We're happy to tell people what we're spending taxpayer money on and the effectiveness of those systems as it relates to direct safety and crime prevention and captures. Okay, as we're talking about people that are, maybe in that top, they say 90% of the crime is committed by 10% of the population. It's a real thing. We have repeat offender units that are dedicated to that simply because we know that statistic to be true. And so, solving crime series, putting people away that spend their whole day committing 10 felonies a day, just victimizing people, using technology in a way. And we did recently, last year about this time, we had the South American Theft Group series, over 100 crimes that we know of in the local area here, more than 30 of those in Scottsdale. We brought technological systems to bear and actually caught crews because of it. Those are people that are just simply victimizing people every day, everywhere they go, and putting them away.
And it improves the quality of life for those residents that actually live here full time, right?
You bet.
And they're always here.
But to your point, we do bring in 13, 14 million tourists a year. And so our economy depends on that. The special events we hold, the tourism that Scottsdale offers the world, not just the country. And we want our brand, our reputation to be, you come here, you have fun, you feel safe, and enjoy your time here and come back. And so, we want to be very open about how we're making that happen.
My mind has been stuck on something, and I want to ask him this, because you mentioned Waymo.
I did.
Waymo.
Which, for those that don't know, like Phoenix, Scottsdale area, this whole area, like Waymo is the truly autonomous vehicle that you just order from your phone like an Uber, and it shows up with no driver in it, which is terrifying the first time you did it.
I took one myself because I wanted to know.
Did you go to a call?
I didn't go to Okay, note to self this afternoon. Take a Waymo to a call. That's fantastic. I wanted to know. I wanted to see it for myself. And, that technology is also evolving. I think there's still a little room to grow there. But it's amazing. It's like you're watching a science fiction movie,
But that's why I brought it up, because I'm curious, is that specific piece of technology causing you guys any unique issues that other departments don't see? Being this guy won't stop.
Besides
pull his
hitting
car
people.
over. He won't stop.
Well, I'll tell you, we have written tickets to Waymos. There's a process for this, believe it or not. But I don't want to in any way cast some kind of a shadow over that. They are a responsive company, and they are trying to make their product better every day. And I think people, there's a lot of people that are very fond of that system, and they like it a lot.
I think it speaks to the innovation, right? So they are a company that's willing to get out there, innovate, test, right? Be bleeding edge and do that. I have a super supportive and funny wife, and we were out here and we took a selfie of us not my wife, she was back at home, took a selfie of all of us in a Waymo.
Okay.
And she just sent back, you look like a bunch of crash test dummies, right? Because there's no driver, right? You're just like, go hit the pillar, see what happens.
Yeah.
But it was an interesting ride, man.
Yeah, I just think it's interesting, like, as these technology advancements, in society come along, how the law enforcement adapts to that.
And I think we always want to be a part of the solution, So even in some instances where we've had to maybe issue out some accountability for failures in the system, for the most part, we're interested in helping them understand maybe where they have to make some tweaks.
Yeah.
But at the same point, recognizing this is not the future anymore. This is the present, and people like it. And this is what is, I think, only going to expand. Yeah. More technological companies are competing, for that. There are other companies out there. It's just Waymo. We happen to be a test market for Waymo. But anyway, our interactions with the company have been very positive. Now, there is an individual that becomes the recipient of citations. So I'm a little worried about that.
It's like one customer service person.
I don't want
you
his
have
job
7,000 warrants for your arrest.
Don't leave this area.
No, even in those cases, they're responsive to that too. Yeah. And we have an obligation to our community that if we're holding them accountable for traffic law violations, Waymo, a company like Waymo is not exempt from those things. If they're going to operate on the road, they have to do so safely and in compliance with the law. And so it's our obligation, and that's our job.
I'll be honest, I hadn't even considered that.
Yeah.
Like I just hadn't even considered. I mean, I wrote in it.
Yeah.
So I get it, but I haven't even considered it. So
just to be fair,
Yeah.
we have had Waymos involved in collisions. We don't have a single accident where they were the responsible vehicle.
I believe that.
So-
Yeah, I believe
Having
in the
ridden in it, I
technology.
believe that 100%.
Yeah, I just think it's
Yeah.
interesting how we adapt to that.
Yes.
And help them adapt to it and get better.
Absolutely.
And if you think just community safety wise, right? Nobody is assaulting a Waymo driver, and no Waymo driver is assaulting their fare, right?
Exactly right.
And so,
And they're not driving drunk.
That's
true.
right.
And I always hope the person before me leaves a cash tip.
There's cameras for that.
There are cameras everywhere. Yeah.
Bonus.
Yes.
I have one. So my first experience with drones technology in law enforcement was SWAT calls, and you were, I believe you were a SWAT guy back in the day.
Yep.
So
many years, 14 years on the team.
Yeah. So it's throw a stick flown drone up there, and it changed the game, right? We hear that all the time in tech, right? It's a game changer. It's this and that, but it really did. It gave us an overview where we didn't have to have an airship, a loud airship at whatever 6 a.m., right? Things like that, and it gave us a good overview. Then we decided, hey, let's start streaming that to more than just the TAC commander potentially, or to whomever. Then we progress. But in your experience with just introducing drones to Scottsdale law enforcement, how did that go? How long did it take? What was the buy-in like?
As you're suggesting, our drone programs began with tactical, and we found very specific uses for them. But even then, there was concern, political concerns about it. And I remember, I'm really going to date myself now. You started this. When I started as an operator on the SWAT team, this is what technology looked like. I'm not kidding. It was a camera, I believe, purchased at Radio Shack, mounted to the end of a painter's pole.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
And there was a great operator out of Mesa, city of Mesa. He was kind of a techie guy, hobbyist, and he tore down a remote control car and put a camera on it. And we thought these things were amazing, And so you look where we are now. Oh my God, have we come far. But we've been in the drone business on the TAC team now, I want to say since 2010, maybe 11, somewhere in there, using it on tactical missions. And from there, as the technology improved, as we understood it better, understood the effectiveness of it, a couple of years ago, we started the patrol drone program, which are not remote-mounted DFRs, but carried in the police cars.
Trunk launched.
Yeah.
We have 7. We're adding an 8th due to a community donation that just today that came out. We have more than 40 Part 107 certified pilots in patrol that fly these things every day, and so we started to see tremendous success. Of course. A lot of things you use the helicopter for, they were taking the place of that faster and more efficiently. You know all the how they work.
Yeah.
And so we saw all this great success. But then about 3 years ago, I think we started looking into this idea of DFR. And to me, that's just the next evolution. I'm excited to see the evolutions beyond that. I probably have 3 years left on the job, before I retire. And at this rate, I'm just amazed to see even where we are in 3 years.
Yeah.
My goal is to, when I leave the department, to just leave it in a very progressive posture, always exploratory, always trying new things, and I'm excited to see where it goes.
So I feel like 20 years from now, somebody's going to tell the story about how people used to have to check a drone out.
Right.
And we're going to laugh at it like we did the Taser, breathalyzer,
It's like,
less
hey,
less right, all that.
Yeah.
And then it becomes prolific,
Yes.
or it leaves in place of DFR now, right?
Yeah.
Or drone deployed officers. You guys remember when they actually drove cars to calls?
Yeah, exactly. Well,
Who knows what's
I'm
next?
actually glad you brought that up, because we've been talking a lot about the safety that this technology brings to the community. I do not want to shortcut the safety that it brings to our troops on the ground.
Right.
Yeah.
Our real-time crime center that Chris Henningsen manages,
I don't like
the
that
more
guy.
than 5,000.
We should have him on the, we should have him on the podcast.
We should have him on the podcast at some
The more
time.
than
He's right there, by the way.
Oh, yeah. That's right.
the more than he's supposed to be watching me, I think. the more than 5,000 camera feeds that we bring in. Chris started a great thing immediately, and by the way, Real Time Crime Center started with Chris, a computer in a mobile radio, sitting in our communication section.
Yeah.
That was real time for a
good.
little while.
Yeah, a lot of them start that way.
But he started an amazing program called Virtual Partner. Our officers do not ride in two-man cars. They're on their own. So whenever an officer makes a traffic stop, somebody at RTCC is pointing a camera at him just to keep an eye. Is everything okay? Those little things. How do you even quantify how valuable that is? So.
It's true.
It's amazing in the way of safety for our personnel and safety for our community.
So for those people that may be watching this that just they're not in law enforcement, they may not understand what you're talking about. Like, go a little bit deeper on that if you don't mind. How does a drone in the sky improve safety on the ground with an officer?
Well, when you're responding to calls, especially ones that might be more tactical in nature, more of an emergency, think of a trapped armed robbery suspect, or a domestic violence situation, or a barricaded armed subject, things like that. The officers respond there and are in a real state of unknown. What is the state of my environment? Is the guy in the backyard? Is the guy, peeking out of a side door at us right now with a weapon? And so it takes a little time for us to secure that scene, to make sure that we can operate safely, that we're covered properly, meaning we're safe from gunfire. The ability to put a drone up in an instant and immediately start answering a lot of those questions, not just for the folks on the scene, but for the watch commander who's still making his way there, and we're sending links and beaming that signal, and he can see in real time, oh my gosh, this is what's happening, or I need more officers there. Even something like responding to a multiple vehicle high injury collision, right? Getting a drone up. Have we managed the traffic pattern so we don't have another collision? Do we need more units? I'll tell you right now, the fire department, the ability to get overhead of a structure fire, they can make decisions immediately about how many alarms this is and what they need in the way of resources. The sky's the limit. Pardon the pun. The sky's the limit, really, on the use.
You think about just fire apparatus, right?
Yeah.
They're rolling lights and sirens down a tourist town, right? When maybe they don't need to.
Right.
And so just that in itself inherently is creating safety, right? So So for those, I think we've mentioned DFR stands for Drone First Responder, but just in case we didn't, I want to make sure they understand. So the concept is the drone launches either with ground units or without, depending on priority of the call and what you guys are handling. The drone goes out, assesses the situation, helps, maybe even clears calls without a response, right?
Yep.
This is still new in policing, right?
Yes.
It's still at minimum cutting edge, but actually I still think it's more bleeding edge than cutting edge,
I
right?
do too.
So how do you guys measure success, return on the investment for the community, things like that.
Yeah.
What does that look like as it relates to Scottsdale?
I'd like to share maybe a couple of stories I think that illustrate those points. First of all, and maybe you want me to get into this or not, we'll talk about how we deploy. And I don't just mean how the drone takes off and flies. What I mean is, where are our drone pilots actually sitting? In what proximity to communications? And what level of communication is occurring between the 911 call taker and now somebody who can get a drone up, even before the call's dispatched on the radio? Chris and I call that T-minus time. That's time that we didn't own before. Okay.
Yeah.
Usually, you guys know how it works. The call comes through 911. The call taker starts typing the call into the system. It gets sent to a dispatcher. The dispatcher reads the call, evaluates it. Maybe it's a hot call. Maybe it's not. Makes those decisions, starts to broadcast it.
Yeah.
Well, that's 2 to 3 minutes sometimes before
Ideal.
all that's occurring.
Ideal
right?
scenario.
Yeah.
And so before, we always used to say, in progress calls are really just occurred calls. Just occurred calls. There's even larger time delay on that. Just because there's a system that has to be followed, and that system has time built in. Well, we're able to now really cut into that factor and say, wow, not only can real time get an immediate alert that maybe a hot traffic call is coming in, and deploy the drone before it's even been broadcast to the sergeant, okay, or the troops on the street. The drone's already flying that direction at 53 miles an hour, anywhere in its operating area in about a minute and a half, and can be overhead. So now we're not dealing in things we presume are happening, or just through experience we think, well, the guy's probably run or whatever, or some witness testimony. But we're actually seeing in real time now, this is what's happening. I told you I was going to share a story with you. We had a burglary of a pawn shop right as real time was first brand new. It was a cute little baby. And so we have a burglary of a pawn shop.
Chris in my mind, cute little baby. It's good.
Cute little baby.
You're just a little crime center, aren't you?
Yeah.
Aren't you such a cute?
Yeah, exactly. And we have this burglary. And imagine now all those time factors, but the way we've deployed our troops within the real time, near communications, heard the call coming out, started pushing cameras in that direction to see that the two suspects had already burglarized and were now running down the street. So their actual physical location was about a block south of the location. Well, without that, what would we have done? We would have responded. We would have set a perimeter. These guys are long gone.
Long gone.
In this case, we captured these guys.
Yeah.
And that's all due to this way to insert ourselves now into that lost time factor and make it valuable to us.
Are you guys measuring that out of curiosity? Do you track the virtual response times?
Yeah, we are tracking that.
See, that is bleeding edge right there.
Yeah, we're tracking. We want to know what our virtual response was, and we're not giving up our physical response. We still need to know that. And we're starting to measure that metrics of the in-between time, and then how is that relating to captures? How is that relating to smarter tactical decisions? How, all those things are very exciting.
I think that there's so many different metric possibilities to look at ROI in any jurisdiction when it comes to DFR, right?
Yeah.
So there's the community, the quality of life element, right?
Yeah.
How many people did we find that were missing faster because we had this flying technology
Absolutely.
or whatever other technologies that we deploy? And then you have the crime element, then you have the response times, because nationwide we've used to and still use physical response times to justify staffing.
That's right.
We either need more or we're good this year, whatever it is. And now we're there before the call exists,
Yeah.
theoretically. And so,
And you said earlier, too, about clearing calls without even sending an officer. We have that potential. We've done that already, where it could be something as simple as a disabled vehicle call. And, let's be honest, in a city like ours, that call's going to hold for a bit.
For a minute,
It's a pretty low priority call.
Sure.
But the DFR could fly over. Hey, the guy's got AAA.
Yeah.
You can clear the call out.
Yeah.
That saves or makes us more efficient, saves taxpayer dollars, and it all goes into our deployment and staffing.
One scenario I talk about often is that scenario of I'm driving down a street in Scottsdale. Let's say I'm not from here, and I'm driving down the street, and I see this guy on the side of the road, and to me, in the way I've assessed it, He's acting funny. I feel like he was almost running out into traffic, and he was holding something in his hand that looked a lot like a gun to me.
Yeah.
Of course, I'm following the speed limit, so you're right. I have a great view of him and his gun.
Yeah.
So in that scenario, that's going to be a call we're dispatching DFR to, undoubtedly, right?
Without a
guy
doubt.
with a gun, potentially running down the street, whatever it might be. It could be a mental health issue. It could be a crime, whatever. Drone gets overhead, sees the guy. He's sitting down on the bus bench. There's 0 things in his hand. There's nothing even nearby him.
Yeah.
We may cancel that call depending on department policy. Officers are safer.
Yeah.
That guy's safer, right?
Well, and on the flip side, you used a scenario where the call wasn't as described. On the flip side, we actually had this very call, except replace the gun with a hammer.
Okay.
And this individual actually went to attack someone with the hammer. Our DFR was overhead, giving good direction to our officers on the street, and we were able to take that guy into custody. Obviously, he's holding a deadly weapon. It didn't result in an officer-involved shooting because we're more informed. We have
That's
better
right.
information, better intelligence as we're rolling in, right? Spontaneous violence generally happens in that space of the unknown.
Yeah.
And here we're, again, how do you measure this? How do you quantify this? I don't know. I don't know if you can quantify. It's hard to measure something that didn't happen.
That's right.
Because you deployed
Right.
correctly.
That's exactly. Somebody will figure it out.
Yeah,
At some point.
smarter
But
than me. Yeah.
That's exactly the questions that I have. Right? Is how do you measure ROI effectively?
Yeah.
Can you apply that tool across the board, agency to agency, and go, okay, apply this formula, you'll know your ROI. Right?
Right.
Response times are. That's a beast in and of itself.
Sure.
We're there before the call is working. So
Well, and we're very interested in data in the Scottsdale Police Department. We use a system called Corona Solutions just to do our deployment. So it downloads every 24 hours the absolute workload on the street. It compares it to our deployment, our number of officers, our beat sizes. We're very interested in making smart, efficient decisions through the use of data and intelligence. And so, to me, this idea of virtual response measurement compared to physical response measurement, that all factors in to how I just want us to be that finely tuned Ferrari engine that just sounds so good.
Yeah.
That's how we want our department deployed.
Yeah, so what's the criteria? This is one thing I've always wondered about. The criteria that you guys have in place to decide when I'm going to send a drone, when I'm not going to send a drone. Do you just leave it up to the pilot? Like, is there something specific written down?
At this point, because this is still pretty new, we want it on a lot of calls. We're just really trying to get good data set, So just go. There's no call that I would say, no, the drone is prohibited from going to. It's more about where do we think we can be useful, where do we think it's most effective, or we'll just create more efficiencies. So I want the drone flying a lot right now.
Yeah.
I want it up on a lot of calls, even if it didn't really appear to benefit us a whole lot.
Sure.
Well, now we're learning and growing more ourselves too about where it's going to be best used. We're expanding. We're going to do another platform. We might be partnering with another agency, a neighboring agency, on their platform and sharing radar and so on. So this is only going to get bigger, I believe.
Yeah.
The more we measure its effectiveness, I'm just so impressed all the way through.
Where do you want to see it?
Oh
in
boy,
3
the
years?
grand
As
plan.
you're walking out the door.
Yeah,
where,
the grand
where are
plan.
you hoping this
Well,
is at?
so Scottsdale's a unique city because we're very urban city on the south end. We're very rural city on the north end. Large, spacious properties and open space and desert, and of course we have the Scottsdale Preserve, which is humongous. So it's a unique place to work as a police officer because you can. At least when I started, we had gangs and things like that in the south end of the city, but the north end, you're a lot like a county deputy,
Sure.
out in the desert. So different DFR, I think, is appropriate in all those areas, but in different ways. So down out towards the south end of the city, obviously we'll use the systems we're using now in that way, the quadcopters and using them in their 6 mile across radius, 3 miles in every direction or whatever. And then towards the north end of the city, I see something different. I see more of a fixed wing, something that can help us with search and rescue, something that can cover more space, can be in the air longer, more hover time, that can provide us more of that. And so I think ultimately, as we've looked at the city, we're thinking about 4 to 5 platforms across. And I think it would give us the coverage. The benefit of covering distance so fast helps us a great deal on the northern end of the city.
Yeah.
By call density, 50% of our calls are south of McDonald here, which is a pretty southern, east-west street here in our city. But we just have a lot of civilian density there, a lot of businesses and bar districts and things like that. And so when we deploy based on workload, we have a lot of officers down there.
Yeah.
When you look at it that way, the drone is helpful, but a response time issue is not a huge issue for me there because we're pretty densely populated there. On the north end of the city now, just to give you an idea, beat 20, which is our northernmost beat, you could take all of my southern district, District 1, McKellips District, you could fit it inside of beat 20, which is one beat in the Foothills District. Okay. If that gives you some idea.
Yeah.
You can see why on the north end, covering distance faster is more advantageous. So I right now, if we had a bad accident, kind of on our border with Fountain Hills, a Via Linda district officer, it might take them 6-7 minutes to get out there. If it's rush hour, maybe longer, just trying to navigate traffic. A drone mounted on top of the Foothills District can be there in about maybe 80 seconds.
Yeah.
Providing us intel, providing us information. Awesome. How bad's the accident? What do we need to manage it? Do we need traffic engineering to start changing light cycles, rerouting?
Yeah.
The benefit of that is also hard to quantify.
Right. Do you see a world where there basically is just a loiter time up there all the time? The drone's always up? Or is that...
So I've talked with some that are more knowledgeable than me about the future and the way that technology is progressing. And I think that's been suggested, and I think that's super exciting. I can't even believe it that could be a thing, but that's very exciting to think about that. Yeah, and maybe that means fewer platforms, and as long as we never sacrifice risk mitigation and safety in this process, then we're gonna keep driving towards that.
Yeah, no, it's good. Love having you on here because it really is. Scottsdale has been very progressive when it comes to tech in general, and the application of tech when it comes to policing. And so the fact that you have a DFR program, the fact that it's working for you, and you're seeing those wins is really nice to see. So a question that I want to end kind of the question period. Dalton has some rapid fire questions for you.
All right.
Preparing them for weeks. I can't wait for him.
I haven't thought about
His
it.
head is
I'm thinking about it now.
Yeah,
though.
of course. Yeah.
What can I ask?
So this is more of a hypothetical question because you do have a crime center.
Mm-hmm.
Is DFR, if you didn't have a crime center, is DFR valuable to a police department still? Right? If you don't have that element of people watching cameras, things like that.
I do think it's still valuable. But I think less so. It really is this concert of technology that comes together. A real-time crime center not only brings you, camera feeds and things like that, but it gives you the expertise of the people in that room to know how to use that. Right? It's not so much about having the technology, but if you're not using it to the best of its ability, you're never going to see the results that you're looking for. And so I think DFR on its own, and some agencies may not have a real-time crime center. There's certainly a place for it, as long as they're able to dedicate the right resources to it and use it properly.
Yeah.
This is where we get out of the cool factor and into the actual operational effectiveness.
That's right.
And I think that you can't ever lose sight of that.
Yeah, I appreciate that answer. We preach all day long, if you buy tech, leverage it, use it, make it work for you, because there's
plan
no
ahead
point.
to use it.
Yeah,
don't put it in place and then say, oh, now we have to build
right.
around it, because it's going to be a year before you stand it up.
Yeah, you're paying money for it.
Yeah,
use it for what it's for.
And I tell you what, when you're choosing companies to work with, one thing I've found, one of the most important things to us here at the Scottsdale PD is working with companies that are open to our feedback, that are willing to change, that are nimble, that are not sort of bogged down in their own idea of what something should be. But once we're actually out here using it, being willing to listen to that and make it a part of their design philosophy going forward, because this is where the magic happens. This is where you have the technological geniuses like you guys and your companies, and but you're combining that now with the wisdom and the knowledge of what policing is, and that's where that I think is just a winning combination.
That tech partnership, I used to talk about that when I was still in law enforcement. That was critical to me. Right?
Yeah.
That concept, as you described it perfectly. That concept is what I hoped would exist with every single quote unquote vendor that I did business with, because I wanted to give feedback. I'll tell you, engineers, shout out all engineers, because they get feedback and it's critical of the process, device, or solution they were part of creating, right?
Sure.
And so there's a point where just me as a human, I know if you criticize me one more time, Dalton, and you give me that feedback, we're going to have an issue, right?
Yeah.
They really look forward to that, right? They look forward to the concept of give me what's working, what's not, because at the end of the day, they want their solution to be the best.
Absolutely.
Right? So yeah, it's just pretty cool.
Yeah, this is good. This is entertaining.
Yeah. Rapid fire questions. We do this with everybody.
All right,
and
I'm
Dalton
ready.
literally prepares for minutes on, on
seconds.
these.
I prepared seconds ahead of time.
Yeah.
I'll go first. I've got one. It just popped in my head since he's from.
Right.
from
Yeah. No, it's
Did you say
perfect.
Wisconsin or Minnesota? What was it?
I'm from Wisconsin. Yeah, Wisconsin.
Cold weather or hot weather?
Which do I prefer?
Yeah.
Well, I grew up playing winter sports. I love the cold weather. It doesn't bother me at all. I think if I had my druthers, I'd probably live in a little bit colder climate than where I live now. But that's not a complaint. This is an amazing place to be. But yeah, I play hockey and things like that. I mean, I love everything about it.
Are there a lot of hockey rinks down here in the
Believe
Phoenix?
it or not,
I was going to go there.
You know what? It's going to surprise you.
Yeah.
There is a really, really large hockey community down here.
Did they all move
although
to
we
Utah
did just lose
recently?
our team,
Yeah.
our professional team.
What is their
But-
electricity bill to cool that building?
It's got to be high.
Oh
come
my
on.
gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is land of solar. Like this
Yeah.
is the Valhalla of solar.
Yeah, that's right.
It's,
That's right.
Yeah. So I was going to go there. I was going to ask, why couldn't a hockey team survive in the desert?
Well, and
'Cause
it's
there is a lot
working
of
very well
interest.
in Vegas, right? I mean,
Right.
they're
Yeah.
same kind of climate as us. I think it was. I don't know. I don't really know.
I would
I
love
was
to
a
criticize them.
huge fan. Loved being a Coyotes fan, and they moved to Utah Hockey Club. Now they're still a great team. We still follow them, because we're kind of loyal to that operation. But yeah, I hope someday we get them back. I hope we get a team back here. It'd be great.
Yeah. Normally, I ask a food-related question, which I will ask at this point now.
Yeah.
Because some of the best Mexican food I've ever had has been here.
Without a doubt.
Right? And so Mexican
Mm-hmm.
or cheese from Wisconsin.
Well, they're almost the same. I mean, there's a lot of cheese.
Yes, but not Wisconsin cheese.
Not Wisconsin cheese.
generally.
I'm going to have to go Mexican.
Yeah.
I love Mexican food. And as you said, some of the finest cuisine in the country is right here. And there's so many great restaurants right here in Scottsdale, too. They're amazing. So
Dalton likes pineapple on pizza. What do
No,
you think
that's
of
a
that?
yeah, that's
California
wrong.
thing.
It's just
it's
wrong,
interesting.
and you
California.
should be ashamed of yourself.
Yeah.
So
No,
Unbelievable.
Yeah, that's all.
I can't
Yeah.
believe you eat
It's like
that
an
stuff.
inside joke between me. Yeah. The whole time I'm thinking his answer, I'm like, why not just put the Wisconsin cheese on the Mexican?
why not? I
It'd be
don't disagree.
delicious.
It would be delicious. Yeah,
Cheese curds
Just not
from Wisconsin.
pineapples.
Yeah,
That's the way.
Not
It's good. Thank you. Thanks
Yeah.
for being on with us. Good conversation.
wonderful. Thanks for having me.
Yeah,
It's
I
great
appreciate it.
chatting with you guys. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
We'll have a better co-host next time.
You probably have a better guest
Thanks,
next
y'all.
time.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.